afternoon. Welcome to the August 8th, 2008 meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. By the way, August 5th. I'm getting it fast enough as it is. May we have the roll call, please?
Authority members: Draymond.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Karazian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver. Chairman Yusefian. Vice Chair Mincy.
Here. May we have your report, please?
The agenda for the August 5th, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, July 31, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Okay, I don't believe we have minutes today. What is next?
Oral communication and discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for an investigation and report.
I have one speaker, Herbert Milano.
Good afternoon. My name is Herbert Milano, Vice Chair Mincy, members of the Housing Authority, and city staff. I'm following up on ideas on how to best represent a quality of life indicators that this agency has authorized. I'm looking at the quality of life indicators from 2002, page 56. It has to do with recreation and leisure activities. In this particular document, it states the following: that based upon the standard of 6 acres per 1,000 residents, the city has a current deficiency of approximately 900 acres of parkland. The City Parks and Recreation and Community Services Department estimate that at least 2/3 of the population is underserved due to the current geographic distribution of parks within the recreational planning areas. So I have taken the information from the city's documents and put it in a way that could be best represented to the rest of the population. So if you don't mind displaying this particular PDF. Here we have Recreational Planning Area 11 that includes Shoal Canyon, Chevy Chase Canyon. This is the area where Mr. Bob Yusefian and Mr. Weaver lives, and where I believe previous council members who've been mayors live. And you notice that there are 6.67 acres, which is in excess of the minimum standard that we aim to have for the city of Glendale. Okay, here's recreational area number 2, which includes sort of the route along Verdugo or Cañada. It includes Glorieta Park, includes the small Oakman Park up in Oakman View. And I actually included Crescenta Valley Park because even though it's not a city park, it is completely surrounded by the city of Glendale. This area has 5.9 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. So the figure there, the silhouette of a man, is representative of 1,000 population, and the tree represents for every foot sort of like 1 acre of parkland. So you can see that Recreation Area 2 meets the city's objectives. All right, Recreational Area 1, which is the very, very north part of Glendale, which does not include Duke Medjin Park, which has 700 acres, is 5.4 acres per 1,000 residents. Still within the realm, but nonetheless a bit short of the goal. Here's Recreational Area number 4. This includes Mr. Draymond's favorite area, Montrose, Spar Heights, Montecito. It includes the sports complex, the Bicentennial Park, and the new Rock Haven property that was just bought, 3.5 acres of Rock Haven. So we have 3.35 acres per 1,000 residents. As you can see, it's about 50% of the amount of parkland required. Here's Recreational Planning Area 3, which is called the northwest part of Glendale. It includes Brent Park, Nibley Park, and Verdugo Park. This area has 2 acres per 1,000 residents. It serves 38,000 residents. Here's Recreational Area number 6, which includes the Fremont Park and Milford, sort of like the central west part of Glendale. It's less than 1 acre. It's 0.6 acres per 1,000 residents. Here's Recreational Area 7, the lower part of Glendale, even smaller than that, 0.5 acres per 1,000 residents. Here's recreational area 9, the Mariposa District, 0.36 acres per thousand. Recreational planning area 8, the Adams Square, Palmer, and Windsor Mini Park, even 0.23 acres per thousand residents. And you can see that tree getting smaller and smaller out there. Get to the point where I can almost not even be able to represent it on this graph. Followed by Pelanconi, 0.23 acres per thousand. And then recreational area 10, which is where I lived for 10 years. And we have less than a quarter of an inch representative there with regard to 0.017 acres per thousand. And that is a way of representing the discrepancy that we have in Glendale. And it is not due to you, Mr. Draymond. It's not your problem as such, your problem to solve. But you're not the cause of it. The cause comes from decades of our ignoring our city's plan, the city's stated objectives. And it is my hope that when we come back with a good product that represents our current state of the distribution of parkland, that the public is able to see firsthand what the challenge it is that you have in solving that deficiency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. Thank you for your work on that. That completes the oral communication is closed. Yes, Mr. Draymond.
Mr. Vice Chair, may I ask a couple of questions of the
Sure.
speaker? Are we at that point where I could do that?
Go right ahead. Mr. Milano?
Mr. Milano? The charts and the graphs help a great deal, I think, for people to understand exactly what this means. And I personally appreciate the fact that you've done this way, because one of my concerns has been, and you've heard me say it before, one of my concerns when we have this debate, usually it's not during Housing Authority, but we have this debate, has to do with the seeming arbitrary nature of just dividing the city in half at the freeway and saying, you know, because we picked that spot at the freeway, therefore the percentage of imbalance of park space is X percent. What happens if we shift that boundary north, you know, a mile and we include Verdugo Park as part of South Glendale? Or if we divide the city arbitrarily the opposite direction and divide it into East Glendale and West Glendale? What does that really mean? And it engenders all kinds of conversations and discussion about whether or not this is a matter of discrimination, as some have put it, rather than, as you just put it, as a matter of policy or lack of policy. But I also want to also remind you, it's something that's also part of Glendale's history, too. The city, the parts of the city that have the least amount of park space are some of the oldest parts of the city, where development has been going on from the beginning of the city, and the areas that have the largest amount of open space or park space, usable park space, tend to be those parts of the city that were basically the frontier areas of the city while the city was developing. Up in areas where, up until the 50s, those areas weren't even part of the city of Glendale. In any case, so I appreciate the approach, first of all. I find it very helpful, both to me and I think to the public. I have one other comment in the form of a question, and that is, how many of the parks, if you know offhand, that you've cited in all parts of the city that are part of this series of charts are parks, say, over 5 acres? Or if you don't know, if you wouldn't mind getting the information back to me, I would appreciate it.
I'll be gladly do that, but it's only a handful. It's only a handful of the parks. The primary development that we had in parks in the last 10 years or so have been the mini park concept.
Right.
And the problem that I have with a mini park is that we lose the fact that it only is supposed to serve a quarter of a mile, roughly a 2-block area surrounding it. And if you take that definition, we cannot include that park area when there's a large development taking place half a mile away or 1 mile away. And the same thing with the definition with regard to what is a neighborhood park, just half a mile radius distance from the park. So when we start applying the city's own definitions and the national standard definitions, we find that there are areas outside the boundaries of what is normally the surrounding area covered by that park. And I think that's what's really relevant. We really have only 2 regional parks in the city, 2 really regional parks, and that is the Crescenta Valley Park and the Duke Majan Park.
Right, and-
that
and you-
serve an area larger than the city of Glendale.
And of course, neither of them are particularly Glendale City parks either.
And that's exactly, they serve a community much larger than the city's own residents' needs are. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, let me just say that in terms of mini parks, that is the quickest and most effective way to bring some recreational facilities to the south and western portion of the city. Those neighborhoods have multifamily residences. They're the most, most populated areas of the city. So for me, any possibility of getting a corner, any possibility of buying something that would go from the street to the street, I'm all for doing that, for greening that particular plot of land, and as a result, I think we've brought some measure of green to some of these neighborhoods. It's not obviously as interesting to me as trying to build a park or trying to locate land for a park where you could have basketball courts and sports facilities and so forth, but as the old saying goes, it's better than nothing. So.
Yes.
Since we're on the subject, it is important to note when Mr. Milano, I guess, looked at all of us and said that it's not our problem, but it's ours to solve. We have taken great steps towards solving that by passing the park impact fee, as well as earmarking the tax increment, the dollars from our redevelopment agencies. So wherever there is development in the city, there will be a simultaneous increase in funding towards park development. Will it be enough to catch up for the 102 years of, let's call it, neglect, if you will? No, but it's certainly going forward. I think it's dramatic steps that this council took in the recent past.
Okay. What is next, please?
Next is authority member staff comments.
We've about had those, haven't we? Okay, what's next?
Is there if there's no new business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.